It's a bleak picture. This year alone has seen storms, floods, and wildfires. Now, according to scientists, it is unequivocal that humans are largely to blame for warming the oceans, land, and sea through our burning of coal, oil, and gas.
You've been telling us for over 3 decades of the dangers of allowing the planet to warm. The world listened, but didn't hear. The world listened, but it didn't act strongly enough. And as a result, climate change is a problem that is here now. Nobody's safe, and it's getting worse faster.
The first UN report issued in 1990 had predicted human-caused climate change would become evident. At the time, it couldn't prove with evidence that it was happening. That's now changed. On nearly every measurement, our climate is more extreme, and is set to get worse.
Human activities are causing climate change and making extreme weather events more frequent and severe. Second, it shows that climate change is affecting every region on our planet. And lastly, it explains that strong, rapid, sustained reductions in carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions would be required to limit global warming.
Right now, it's some of the world's poorest countries that are feeling the effects, but they contribute less to greenhouse gases. There is hope though. If the biggest emitters are able to commit to and deliver sharp reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, we may see some positive changes. But it would happen within the next 20 years. The COVID-19 pandemic briefly reduced air pollution, but it did not halt climate change. The damage, it seems, is already done. Some issues like Greenland's glaciers melting and sea levels rising are irreversible. And unless there's dramatic change in human behaviour, the world should expect an unsettled and uncertain future. Asad Baig, Al Jazeera.
Let's get some analysis now. We can hear from Tom Burke, who's from the think tank E3G. So, Tom, thanks for joining us here today. The world is clearly in trouble. The UN Climate Summit in Glasgow is coming up. What needs to happen now at the policy level?
Well, the most important message from this report is that we've got to stop burning fossil fuels as fast as we can. And that means that the summit meeting in Glasgow is a really important moment for the world to come together and start doing more than it's already been doing to make that happen. And I suppose there are 3 things that have really got to come out. We've got to, first of all, move forward the $100 billion that were promised to help the emerging countries play their part. And we've not done that. The second thing that's got to come out is we've got to have commitments from countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by about 9 gigatons of carbon right away, so that we've got any chance of keeping the temperature below 1.5. And then we've really got to agree to put an end to the use of coal in our energy systems.
But the thing is, Tom, we've said this countless times, haven't we? That all these things have got to happen, and this is what needs to take place, but it never does. Why is this time going to be any different? In what way will this report add heft to those negotiations in Glasgow? Can it really make a difference?
Well, what I think has really happened, and the events you've just been describing make it very clear that the things that are happening in people's lives are validating the science experientially for them. I think that will matter politically. But at the end of the day, this really is a problem for politicians to solve. We have the technology. We know we can afford to do this. It's really a question of politicians recognizing how urgent and immediate this problem is, and actually doing the things we already know we need to do in order to solve it. Now, why will this time be different? I honestly don't know that it will. It really depends on how our politicians react to the kind of pictures you've been showing.
You say we have the technology, but really, do we? Do we have the ability to make that giant energy transition that is needed by as soon as 2050? That's less than 30 years. We're just not ready for that, are we?
Well, again, technologically, it's no, I mean, given the kind of technological means we have today and the way the globe can, it's not bigger than it was, than the exercise involved in the United States after Pearl Harbor in turning their economy over from producing cars to producing tanks in less than a year. We're much more technically competent and indeed economically competent than we were then. The US was able to do it then. The world is technically capable of doing it now, but it really is a question of whether we can find the right kind of political agreements to do that. But I don't think that we know the technologies we need to do to replace fossil fuels. We know they're there. We're not investing enough in them at scale in order to meet the deadlines we need to meet.
Great to get your thoughts, Tom. Appreciate that. That's Tom Burke from the think tank E3G.